We have the Orioles and Mariners on fire. Yes, I said that right. The Orioles and Mariners are on fire. We got a lot of, maybe not the biggest fab weekend ever. We got a lot of interesting fab pickups, all coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff, I got it right that time. I'm learning from you on the Gaming Golf Podcast with the intros. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. If you could please rate and review the podcast, it does help us out a lot too. Helps people find the podcast, all that good stuff. Jeff, we're a week away from the All-Star break. This season is flying. How is everything over there with you?
I'm good. We are scrambling. It was a tough week injury-wise. You and I were lamenting this earlier. Yeah. We both have some shared souls of shared shares of Jordan Alvarez.
Yeah.
That's why I just build us a striker and the old guy. I'm obviously the old guy here, but we should
trademark that before someone steals it.
I know. It's, it's weird. I keep losing guys in one of our two mains. That's not the Alvarez league. It is the Bryce Harper league. And we keep on creeping up. I'm not in striker range yet. Not within striking range of striker.
There you go.
But I am I'm doing better. I'm competitive, and that's all we can ask. We are competitive. It's Schuler. It's Michael Harris, really. Let's not lie. It's Michael Harris.
We're going to talk about him later. That dude's awesome.
I saw that on the outline.
Talk about a guy that let's talk about Michael Harris right now. Let's
do it.
He's fun.
I like him.
I blew this one. I think I picked up Cal Mitchell that week. That did not work out nearly as well. I think that was the week there were like 3 or 4 rookies, outfielders, and they were all kind of in the same bucket. But I mean, Harris has been awesome. Harris has 152 plate appearances now. He's hitting 303. I guess 300 after today. Sorry, he was 1-5 today. But it's 7 home runs. He hits no stolen base today, so that's 7 stolen bases. I mean, we talk about you can get guys on the waiver wire that help you. This is someone that was 0% rostered when he was picked up. Nobody had him. Nobody was stashing him like he was some 5-star guy that everybody's waiting for. This is someone that was freely available in any size league, and he's been really, really good. And you look at his metrics. I mean, he hits the ball 44% hard hit rate, 11% barrel rate, strikeout rate's 22%. We can deal with that. And more than anything, the dude plays an unbelievable outfield. It's like his leash has to be super long right now. I mean, he makes a great play. It seems like 3 times a week. I mean, he's a really fun guy that does not look overmatched at all at the majors right now.
No, the Braves broadcasters just adore the guy.
Oh, they must. Like he's great. Yeah.
Well, the defense that helps a lot. That he's making plays, and it happens to be coincidental with the team playing better, but let's face it, they also had a easier schedule once he came up at the same time. But they had a hole in center field. Acuna cannot play center field. Adam Duvall was playing center field for the most part, and he's a decent outfielder, but he's not a center fielder. They had to make that change. They did it, and they're much better off because of that. He's batting 9th. Consistently.
I was going to say, do you think we get a spot here where I think he's hit 9th every single game. Do you think that we get a spot here where maybe they try and shuffle something? Obviously Ozzie Albies is gone, but Acuna, Swanson, Olsen, Riley, I don't think he's moving up to the top 4 unless they move everybody down a spot. I don't know. They're just really good. I mean, I guess they moved to 7th or 8th pretty easily, but I don't know that it changes that much. It's going to be hard to get him in the top half of the lineup without an injury.
No, I think they like it this way.
Yeah. Second leadoff kind of thing.
Yeah. That, and it's just it's working. They're probably it's not causative, but teams are hesitant to mess with what's success.
And what are they like 30 and 10? So they called them up or something crazy like that. They've been awesome.
They're a game and a half behind the Mets now.
I know.
And we were talking about all these other hot teams.
A month ago, we're like, is the NL East over? Has the Mets won this? And it's July 10th, and it's essentially tied.
Yeah. So Rosario is back now. We have a question from Isaac. He asked does he think it'll be everyday Eddie? I think once Duvall comes back from his paternity leave, we'll see what happens. I think Eddie got a day off this weekend, so I forget which day it was, but I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be quite there yet as far as an everyday player, but I think he's going to hit one of those hot streaks at some point. Now that he can see, I figure because earlier this week Rosario had one RBI all season. Now, I know he missed a bunch of time, but he was also mega slumping because he couldn't see.
Yeah. I think he's like most days, Eddie, I guess is what I go with. But it's tough because when you go Acuna, Ozuna, Harris, Rosario, Duvall, someone's got to sit there. And you think that when you get a lefty, it makes a lot of sense for Rosario to be that guy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so.
You don't want Marcel Ozuna playing center field, I don't think.
You don't want him playing.
He's so bad.
Any field.
He's really bad. I was joking, but yeah, he's a terrible outfielder.
You don't want him playing Flanders fields. You don't want him playing Strawberry fields. I mean, you just don't want him playing the field at all.
Flanders Field, the Simpsons, Strawberry Field, the Beatles.
Flanders Fields is actually originally a World War I reference, if I'm not mistaken.
But, even more topical than usual.
And then Big Head Todd and the Monsters did a song on that. Yeah, I'm dripping with really out of touch references.
The 1917 reference is really is a new one for you. Yeah. That's great. But it's crazy. I mean, the Braves are hot, but the Orioles and Mariners. I mean, those are not two teams we thought we'd be talking about, both on 8-game winning streaks right now. You and I talked about the AL East last week, and they have 4 playoff teams right now. The Orioles are 2 games behind the Jays, and they have 5 of the top 7 teams and 5 of the top 8 teams, something like that. It's wild. The Orioles are on fire. The Mariners are on fire. Do you like either of these teams as a team that actually could keep this going and sneak in and beat one of these, big name Red Sox, Rays, Jays teams for a playoff spot?
I mean, it's certainly possible with the Mariners, right? Yeah. We expected them to be competitive this year. We knew that they overachieved.
I kind of thought they'd be a year off, but I'm a little surprised.
Competitive though. You didn't expect them to stink. Yeah. You thought they'd be around 500, which is where they ultimately are.
Right.
It took a weird way of getting there, but this also followed the script of last year too, where they got better as the season went on. I kind of think they're kind of matching the Braves a little bit, that they find their way a little bit. They got a young player heating up in Julio Rodriguez. Now they've got other guys perhaps coming up and supplementing. Maybe Kelnick gets another call up at some point in time. They sent Kirby down, but that was also in part because the All-Star break coming up and all that. I think he'll be back shortly after.
You mentioned Kelnick, but I mean, they got Mitch Haniger is probably back in 2 to 3 weeks. Kyle Lewis is back in 2 weeks. Suddenly they're going to have a glut of good players. They're not going to be able to play them all, which I don't think we saw happening a month ago. And clearly, Carlos Santana is somehow revived. 2 home runs today, a home run on Saturday. He was horrible in Kansas City, and I mean, granted, it's just a small little sample here, but he's been raking for the Mariners so far since the trade.
He was good in June for the Royals. Okay. That's why they made the trade. Because that and Ty France was hurt, but that's why they went with Santana. That's why the Royals were able to get something for Santana. People, and I am a person, so therefore I will throw me under that same bus. People were telling the Royals to clear the decks for Vinny P, and instead they got something. Not much, but they got something. They got a prospect of some ilk. I think 2. And one was a decent pitching prospect that they got out of it there. So, I mean, the Royals held on for the right time, and the Mariners found a guy that is, former Mariner, great, Carlos Santana, for 48 hours, if I recall. Actually, I think it was a week.
Right.
But he was in the offseason, so he never played for him. But they got a veteran guy that can work the count, and that's something they actually kind of lacked. They didn't have a lot of OBP guys in Seattle, so that's also one thing he can do.
I feel like their run is a little more real than the Orioles, just because I like their pitching a lot more than the Orioles. I mean, you got Robbie Ray and Logan Gilbert at the top in their rotation, and their bullpen quietly is really good. Sewald has kind of taken over that 9th inning role. They don't really have a set guy, but he's had something like 7 or 8 saves the last 3 weeks. Diego Castillo's good. Andres Munoz is good. Matt Brash coming out. He was their big name pedigree prospect starter. And they moved him to Penn. He looked good last night too. They've got 4 or 5 arms in there where if you're losing in the 7th inning, you might be in trouble.
Yeah. Brash in AL Tout Wars was available, and he was on my waterfall. Okay. I didn't get him because I got Brett Martin, which we'll talk about later. But
do you get paid by the time you mention waterfall?
No, James does. I'm doing it for James. I'm a company man. Priming the pot. Right there. Priming the pot. Priming. I don't
Priming
know.
the pump.
God, I am just mixing all the metaphors tonight, guys.
Pumping the prime. I like it.
Priming the pump.
Question in the chat: are any of the following players drops in a mixed league? Mackenzie Gore, Tyler O'Neill, Joey Votto, and Harrison Bader. I would definitely not drop Tyler O'Neill. He had a little bit of a setback in his rehab because he got hit by a pitch. Sounds like he's fine. Definitely would not drop him. I would not drop Mackenzie Gore despite the bad stretch. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. Harrison Bader depends if he needs steals, and Joey Votto, I would defer to you, Jeff. He hasn't missed 8 straight games or something, right?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. The thing is, he was heating up before that. I think he had a pretty decent June. I mean, first base is abundant. Yeah. Freddie Freeman couldn't make the All-Star team. Josh Bell couldn't make the All-Star team. I don't really care. But it just shows that there's a lot of good first basemen out there. I definitely don't drop O'Neill. Yeah. I'm non-committal on Gore and Bader. I mean, it's tough to remain patient. If you have a limited number of IL spots, it's hard to hold on to injured guys like Votto and Bader. I get it.
Yeah, and the thing with Gore is, I know 3 of his last 5 starts have been really bad, but his ERA is still under 3.2. I can't drop that talented of an arm. I know he's struggling a little bit right now. Maybe you bench him, maybe you get him turn around a little bit, but I do still like him as a hold. Our friend Siege notes that the Orioles bullpen is elite. That is a good point. I was talking about starting pitching with the Orioles. I don't trust. I know Dean Kramer's been good, but I don't trust their starters. But their bullpen has been really good too. Part of the reason they've been on such a good run. Yeah. So that is a good point. Both Seattle and Baltimore have really good pens.
Yeah, and the Angels just kind of went on a death march of a road trip here too. I think they were 1-8 on that road trip. And
I don't know what that franchise needs to do, but it's just something's not working. It's a mess every single year.
I mean, you've got the brilliance of Ohtani. We know how Trout is awesome. You know, he's had some defined slumps lately, but
sure.
I mean, the Rendon thing is a killer for them, just a killer. And they seem to have that one signing every time. Michael Lorenzen, that didn't work out. Now he's hurt.
I mean, the hard part about it is, and it's weird to talk about, but they had 2 young stud pitchers die when they were in their early 20s too. That's a horrible. You don't want to talk about that in baseball wise, but it's a horrible thing that's real. People always oh, they didn't have any pitchers. I'm well, they had 2 really good pitchers, Nick Aiden Hart and Tyler Skaggs, that passed away, obviously, both tragically. But I mean, that's a huge thing for a franchise to deal with when you have 2 guys like that would be in the rotation in any kind of normal situation.
Yeah. It's awful. It's hard to come back from. Harder in basketball, with Len Bias and the Celtics, but I can't believe I'm comparing them. So we'll move on. It's stupid to make a comparison, but it is devastating. Yeah. They drafted 20 pitchers.
I remember that. They drafted all pitchers
last year, right?
Yeah, last year. Yeah. And
Chase Silseth is already up. But their first 20, it was a 20-round draft, and they drafted 20 pitchers. So yeah, that's what they're trying to do to try to overcome that. But I'll tell you, it takes a while though too. And it's such a stars and scrubs lineup. I mean, I guess they're just bad at identifying. Some teams are really good at identifying lesser valued players.
Yeah.
The Angels, they go out and get Tyler Wade, and that was never going to work.
Yeah, it's a good comparison. When the A's were doing their thing and good, they would find those guys in the margins that always ended up being good and productive, and the Angels never ever get those kind of guys. So
yeah.
Jumping back to Tyler O'Neill real quick, there was a point it is true that Derek Gould reported 2 days ago that an MRI took a close look at O'Neill's hand and revealed a tear, and they said they called the next 72 hours important to determine how soon he can return. So I'm holding him anyway, but I'm going to see how that works out. I don't know how serious it is. He was quoted saying it's still a couple of steps for me. So, it's too bad because he was on the rehab assignment. He was about to come back and gets hit by it.
Definitely after the All-Star break now for sure. And then let's follow up too. P. Roth asked about Raisel Iglesias. Above, he asked, is he maybe trade bait? And the Angels, it's going to be hard for the Angels to justify being sellers again. But I mean, it's also really hard to justify any optimism too.
Tough part on him, he's not a rental either. He's signed for 3 more years. He's on a $4 year, $60 million deal. So you're taking on, I'm averaging it out. I don't know exact, how they parsed it out, but you're looking at 3 years, $45 million. I don't know how many people really want to take that on with a reliever at 32. I mean, he's a really good one, but you've got to find the right team for that.
Red Sox.
Team that's, a team that really needs it and can pay it. The Red Sox is a good fit for that. But there's a lot of teams that are going to be I don't really know if I want to pay 3 years, or, I'd say a middling team that, maybe trying to make a run this year. But Iglesias, the ERA is high, but the whip's under 1. The strikeout rate's huge. The walk rate's low. I have no worries about him on field. But yeah, I think the Angels are going to hold on to him. I think the Angels in their mind think they're a contender every year, and they kind of seem like that. I don't think they're going to move him, but that'd be a prime piece if someone could pay him and could afford the 3 years.
Yeah, it's a good point. And let's just go through the teams. The Dodgers was the suggestion in the chat, and I can see it. Craig Kimbrell is shaky, very shaky.
Do you think the Dodgers think Craig Kimbrell's shaky?
I think publicly they will not admit that.
Right.
How can you not think that though? He's putting on like a base runner and a half every inning.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think they have to think he's shaky. Had to pull him from a save appearance the other day this week. He already had like 31 pitches. And he
looked good. He looked good last night, but I mean, it's so you just never know what you're going to get, and it's weird. Like I see Gratterall, Evan Phillips go out there, and I feel better. I'm not a Dodger fan, so I don't get into it as much as they do. But like when I'm watching the game, and we live in LA, is always on late at night. I can't watch the A's because they're horrible, so I flip on a lot of Dodgers games, and Phillips and Gratterall come in. I'm like, all right, we're good here, and Kimbrell comes in. I'm like, who knows what's happening here.
Vesia got the save on the game where Kimbrell couldn't finish the inning. Yeah. But Phillips had pitched before that. Phillips is a comer. He's definitely someone to keep an eye on.
He's playing in the Scott Fish Bowl too.
Is he? That's awesome.
Yeah. He's in there's a live LA version of that where they do the first 10 rounds, and he's one of the guys that's
I love that the Fishbowl's doing all those live drafts. Yeah. I wish I was in one of them. But that's okay because I'm traveling later this week, so it's going to be crazy. So the Dodgers are logical. Braves, let's count them, cross that off. Mets, no. Let's see. Brewers, no. They're not going to add a 4-year contract.
No, and they've got studs in the 8th and the 9th.
Cardinals, no. I don't think. Though maybe a little bit, but I mean, I don't think
the Cardinals take on that contract.
I agree. Yeah. Phillies, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good fit baseball wise, and they can probably afford it. It's
GM wise, it's a good fit too.
Yeah, that's true. Red Sox 1, Phillies 2 probably are the two that the teams you've named so far that make sense.
Yeah, I think in the American League, Astros, no way.
So here's one for you. What about the Padres?
Yeah. Also on our list was Taylor Rogers taking on water lately, and traditionally is kind of worn down over seasons.
Let's talk about Taylor Rogers because I mean he's got 23 saves. So fantasy wise, he's been excellent so far. But his ERA is sneaking up a little bit, 3.63. He's allowed runs in 4 straight appearances, and I watch Rogers a lot. I have him in one of my main events. So I watch him, and I don't know if his slider's not as sharp. His command of his fastball doesn't seem as good. He just seems a little bit off, and like the stuff still seems there. So I still am okay with it, but it just seems a little bit off, a little bit less sharp, a little bit less command. He seems like he's coming back. And, every time I look up, he's in 3-1 counts, that sort of thing. I'm not worried yet, but he's on the radar of like guys I might start to worry about here pretty quick.
Yeah. I'm a little worried, and he screwed my Joe Musgrove win the other day.
Oh, so. that was a brutal one. That was the 1-0 game, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It's not just him. Also, Luis Garcia, the pitcher, the San Diego pitcher, Luis Garcia. I think you have to clarify.
Yep.
Has been on the struggle bus lately. He got the loss on Saturday, so that was a concern. Craig Stammen's on the IL for them. He's been Mr. Durable. He's like their guy that eats up innings, and they took that away. So yeah, it's a team that's needing some depth. They've lost touch with the Dodgers. They're now like 8.5 out. Got smoked today, 11-0, 12-0, something like that.
Yeah,
pretty brutal game.
Funny, we talked about the Dodgers and Padres like they're really close, and you look up, it's an 8-game spread now.
Dodgers had a really good homestand, and the Padres had a nightmare homestand.
The Dodgers are so good, and they just come at you with so many different weapons. We mentioned before we started talking about Julio Urias with that start today. Gavin Lux is absolutely disaster in the outfield. That play he made where he went to his right and like reached over his head as it went over. Like, hey, look, I was telling you before, look at kind of a little league play, something you'd see like it was kind of funny, and then you realize like Urias comes up and gives up a grand slam. I mean, Urias still get the grand slam, don't get me wrong, but Lux had 2 plays in that inning that were over 90% catch probabilities, and you see every once in a while you see that with one play. You don't really see that the same outfielder in 2 plays in the same inning. I don't know where they're going to play Lux. I mean, he's hitting 300. His OBP is like 360, 370. So a value.
Not a whole lot of power though.
No, 3 home runs is weird, and especially from a guy. I think he had 23 in the minors a couple years ago. But that was 2019 though, when everybody's hitting home runs. But like I remember at highlights, he was hitting like 400-foot bombs and pimping them and watching them. And it's like this guy's going to be unbelievable. He's got 3 home runs at the All-Star break, and that's rough.
Yeah. He's a man with no country. He's just he's like a poor man's Chris Taylor in terms of positions. And you got to be at least Chris Taylor to be able to play at multiple positions like that.
Especially when you play on the same team as Chris Taylor.
And now Chris Taylor's hurt, and that's a big loss for the Dodgers. It forces Lux in there a little bit, especially when they don't have Edwin Rios. He's out for a long time. I mean, they are lacking a little bit of the depth that they usually have.
Let's see. So let's jump into week 15 a little bit. Now we've kind of wrapped up what was going on the weekend in baseball. Big week this week. We had 4 teams with 8 games, all in the AL Central. Cleveland, Chicago, Detroit, and Kansas City all have 8 games. We got a big schedule in the NL West because the Rockies are home all week. They have 4 against San Diego, 3 against Pittsburgh. So there's some really good setups for offenses. Padres have 4 in Colorado, 3 against Arizona. Like, gotta love not only those locations but pitching right there. The Pirates, if there's and it's a team you can pick up some guys. I looked at some of the players tonight. They have 4 at Miami and 3 at Colorado. Pretty good, nice week for the hitters, although they don't have a lot of good ones. And Brian Reynolds left the game early today, their best hitter. That's not great there. The Rays are home for 7. They have Boston and Baltimore. The Marlins are home for 7. They got Pittsburgh and Philly. And we talk about hot teams. The Marlins are kind of hanging in. They're a team that we didn't really give much of a chance. They're 4 out in the wild card, almost 500 too.
Yeah. Every time the Marlins look like they're out, they correct some of their 1-run luck, although they blew it today. But because it was Sandy Alcantara, so you cannot score runs when Sandy Alcantara is on the mound.
They won the game eventually.
Yeah, but not until then yesterday and Keith Hernandez Day, it was nice of him to, get into the spirit of things and blow the game in extra innings. But
do you know that was the first game the Mets won an error in extra innings since the Buckner game?
No, I did not know that.
It was the first walk-off, I should say. The first walk-off on
because that was in the 9th inning, wasn't it? Yeah.
No, I think it was a 10th or 11th. So it was a walk-off.
No, it was the 9th inning where they tied it.
Yeah. So it was their first win on a walk-off error since the Buckner game.
Wow. That deserves a wow.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild little stat there.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of fun offense this week. There should be a lot of runs, a lot of teams, good teams facing them bad pitching. Was there any teams picker you were targeting out there?
So, I mean, I think you have to talk Nolan Jones and you have to talk Gavin Sheets because I missed out on Jones. I got beat everywhere on him. Kind of knew I was going to, but I did get Gavin Sheets in one of my 2 mains, and
I like that. He's got 6 righties this week.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
no, it's fine. It's all good. All good in the neighborhood. And I need him there. It's a league where I've got Harper and Brantley. We picked up Tyrone Taylor to replace Harper. We're waiting that one out. And then we lost Starling Marte, and I don't know. He's probably not going on the IL, but I have no degree of confidence he's going to play on Monday or Tuesday. So we'll sit him unless he's actually in the lineup. We're going to sit him right away. So it's a huge series against the Braves coming up here, but I don't think he'll play. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean that MRI was really good news overall, but I think the first half of the week is probably a sit for Marte. Let's jump into Fab. Let's go going there. We've kind of talked a bunch of stuff here, but let's jump into Fab. Let's start with the starters. I thought that for the first week in a while, the starters were actually more interesting than they have been. We talked for about a month. Has just been nobody out there, but Reed Detmers came up this week, coming off a really good start in the minors. This is someone that we really liked a lot preseason. He was one of those hype machine guys. A lot of people looking at his 2021 and finally getting healthy and all that. Thought that he was going to have a chance to be pretty good. Obviously, a highly regarded prospect. He was a 10th pick overall. Struggled a little bit earlier this year. Although his whip was low, which you always like to see. Wasn't giving a lot of hits, but was having trouble getting up runs. His ERA was over 4. Went to the minors. Seemed like he figured out his slider. Came back and pitched really well this week against Baltimore. 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, no earned run, 7 strikeouts. He'd been dropped almost everywhere. He was 15% rostered in the main event, which is a 15-team league. Were you aggressive trying to get him back on teams, or if you dropped him or stealing him now? How'd you feel about Detmers coming up this week? I know he faces Houston this week, which makes it tough, but I feel like he's a bit of a long-term play.
I was not as aggressive as others for 2 reasons. One, the short term, the matchup against Houston.
Yep.
I don't want to overrate minor league results, or a result against Baltimore in Baltimore when they don't have everybody necessarily firing on all cylinders offensively. I know that Baltimore's been winning a lot. It's because of run prevention. They haven't been pounding the ball or anything.
Yeah.
And long term, it's still a 6-man rotation.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You're not getting 2 start weeks out of Reed Detmers. So I really have a hard time going to the wall for him, and especially because I was aggressive last week. I got Pasquantino in both main events. So, and in fact, arguably too aggressive. Now I'm going to really have to kind of watch our bids in one of our leagues. And
how low are you guys in money in those leagues?
In one of them, I'm in double digits.
Oh, okay, that's low.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're talking no more than like, and we got Brett Martin in that league this week. So we're really going to have to be watching our P's and Q's going forward. That's fine.
But
we got what we needed.
You're not dropping $35 on a pitcher. Do you think you might kind of like what people could do on Detmers?
Right. Well, and he went for 106 in that league regardless. So
holy crap.
Really? When I say I'm not as aggressive as other people, that's a taste of that.
Wow. He went for 32 and 43 in my 2 main events. So that's more the range that I was thinking. Yeah, 106. You guys literally couldn't get him.
Yeah, that's right. Literally could not get them.
That worked.
Yeah.
But I actually like him. He was someone that I really liked coming into the year. So I do like the whip. Every time I look at him, like the numbers are bad, and I see the whip is 105. I really like that. I think the strikeout potential is there, and more than anything, I just haven't had any pitchers I liked in a while. So I did get him. I had him for 32 though, so I was fine with that. But 106, I was never getting anywhere near that. I got him in one main for 32, got outbid in the other one. He went for 43. But what did you do with Red Sox rookie Brian Bayo? Pronounced like Scott Bayo, so I did get that one right for once.
I thought it was Bello.
Is
it because they said it was not like Maria? But I thought she was
someone online said it was Bayo.
Okay, well, I mean,
no one's ever wrong online, Jeff. It must be true.
Yeah, and Baseball Reference does have a pronunciation guide. I can double check on that, but I won't do that right now.
I looked at his minor league stuff. I really liked him. And my concern here was what happens in their rotation. You got Chris Sale coming back this week. We got Nate Eovaldi maybe coming back the end of the week. I'm just not sure he sticks. He is starting tomorrow against Tampa Bay. If he starts the second start, it'll be at New York, which after watching the Red Sox Yankee series, you don't want to be part of that. But I think that I like him, but I just am concerned about whether he stays up or not.
Yeah, confirmation is Bayo. Thanks, Rob DiPietro. Appreciate you. So I learned something today.
I mean, I just got excited that Scott Bayo was being used for any sort of reference, so that's why the only reason I remembered it.
Yeah, it was Bayo Watch after all. So that's hence your excitement.
Maybe Brian will be in charge here.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. I got that.
There you go. Nice.
I was timid with him.
I loved the minor leagues numbers when I looked at. I mean, this is a guy that's over 30% strikeout rate at pretty much every level the last 2 years in 2021 and 2022. He got called up from AA to AAA. The walks might be a little bit of an issue, probably getting more of an issue. So his first start, he walked too many guys. That was a problem. I really like him. I just don't think he sticks unless they want to.
That's why I was yeah.
They want to send somebody else down. Maybe, Winkowski didn't pitch well this weekend against the Yankees. Maybe they go with him. But Cutter Crawford's been pitching pretty well. They got a lot of rookies in the rotation right now. But with Pivetta, Eovaldi, and Sale, there's not a lot of spots there. I think that Bayo might end up pitching once this week and then go down.
Yeah, I think so too. Went for 23 and 12 in my 2 leagues. So, yeah, I would have bid more on Josh Winder. In fact, that was my priority because 2 starts this week. And I actually think there is a chance that Winder holds on to the job even after. I think he's a good pitcher. And he gets AL Central foes instead of AL East foes. And I think that's the other reason why.
Amazing what a difference that makes. We just talk about the AL East. Like there are no, maybe Baltimore, but even then, there's not a lot of easy outings there. And you just don't want to pitch against New York. You don't want to pitch against Toronto. You don't want Tampa. Tampa's probably the one team you can pitch against. Their offense has not been great, but they always kind of scare me anyway, just because they figure stuff out, and they will. Winder has pitched well so far this year, 40 and a third, ERA's 3.12. Not a big strikeout guy, but he seems like one of those guys that just kind of knows how to pitch. And the swinging strikeout was pretty good in the minors, so I think maybe the strikeouts will come a little bit as he kind of figures this out. He had a 31% strikeout rate in 2021 in AA, and it went down across AAA in 2021-22. But you can tell the stuff is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did like that. They have 2 starts this week. He is facing Milwaukee and the White Sox. So it's a tough 2-start week, but they're both at home. If I picked him up, I'm definitely starting him this week.
Yep. And even Milwaukee, I mean, knock on all the wood, but
right. Yeah. Don't say it before you put him in your lineup.
Yeah. You can. Yeah. It's not super scary. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I can think of scarier ones.
There's a couple of 2-start guys that were available this week, both in Texas. Glenn Otto and Spencer Howard. Spencer Howard had a couple of really good minor league starts. People picked him up last week. He destroyed them as he tends to do. He's never been good in the majors. I think Glenn Otto actually has some pretty good stuff. I like him more than I like Howard. In terms of those guys, they were interesting because they get Oakland the first half of the week. They get Seattle the second half of the week. Obviously hot, but not a team you're probably avoiding on offense. But the A's, kind of a layup the first part of the week. You hope that is. But were you in on Otto or Howard as the Ranger pitchers here?
Howard, no. Otto, I've been whipsawed with in AL Tout Wars. Kind of like, it could work out. It could work out. But, as you said, facing our A's and our Reds are two good starting points. So our Reds put a number on Shane Baz today.
That was crazy. Baz and Gore, these two stud young guys both just got housed today.
Yeah. It happens. It happens. Especially the young guys like that. But, and I think the ball was just flying in Great American Small Park this week or today. So I think that's part of it there. But, and actually down in San Diego, it was a day game. Ball flies a lot better down there in the day game. It's hot here in Southern California right now. Ball is carrying it. Look at that Dodgers Cubs game too. That was the
game was crazy. Like the Dodgers are the only team that they're down 8-3 in the third. I'm like, well, they're gonna still win this game, and you're not even really that concerned about it.
Yeah, and then bottom of the third is 9-8. It's like boom, done.
It was funny. I was talking to my wife, and I was like, if I was at this game, it'd be 2 hours in the bottom of the third. I'd be freaking out. I'd be so pissed. I hate slow games when they're in person. At least 9-8, you get 17 runs. I hate the games that are like an hour and a half through 3 innings. It's 2-1. Let's
for sure.
But 9-8, that was a lot of fun. It was a crazy. The Cubs just bad. Like they had Betts hit that ground ball at the base low. They one hop it, and David Bodie's over there playing first. Probably should have scooped it, but didn't. It's just It's tough times in Chicago right now. Yeah, Alex Wood thinks you're crazy for your San Diego comment because he had no problem with the San Diego weather today. It was nasty today. Yeah,
that's a good point. And San Diego had a lesser lineup than they usually do too, though. It was a pretty bad lineup for them. Yeah. And remember, San Diego the day before got smoked by Carlos Rodon. He retired the last 20 guys.
That was an awesome game. Down. He was fired up after the game too. That was a fun ninth inning. He wanted to stay in. He was like, I'm not coming out of here. I love when that happens and it works. You hate when that happens and then the guy gets smoked.
Right.
But it was great. And the Giants needed these 2 wins. They were really treading water out there. And those were 2 big wins for them. They needed something to get going here.
Yeah, they sure did.
A guy that I kind of like this week and a little bit under the radar. He's not a 2-start guy, but he does face Pittsburgh this week. Is Braxton Garrett in Miami? I've watched him a couple of times this month. He's been pretty solid in June. I like his stuff. I think he's someone that's going to end up sticking. I like that as a pickup. I think that a 1-start, if you need one guy this week, if you're playing in a daily league, or you're playing a league that still has moves, I think Braxton Garrett for 1 in Pittsburgh this week is kind of the sneaky under the radar guy that could work.
Yeah, not a lot of Ks out of Garrett. That's the thing I'd like to see a little bit more out of. I think it's like 21 and 31 in his last 6. So it's not crushing the strikeouts, but yes, agreed. I like the matchup.
Yeah,
Pirates have shown a little signs of life here and there.
Maybe I'm still not avoiding them by any means. I think that I just like that one. It's hard to find really good 1-start weeks, and in this week where there's a lot of guys that we talked about, there's a lot of guys that are injured. I think that's if you need a 9th starter, I do like Barrett this week.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I don't mind him.
Let's jump into a little bit of reliever talk before we hit the hitters and fab. First, a note from our sponsors, the Blue Wire Network. Thank you for indulging us there. I appreciate that. Jeff, it was another week where relievers are not really doing much for us. The Rangers did have a situation here. Joe Barlow is out. They announced that he's going to not pitch in the 9th inning in high-leverage situations for a little bit, kind of trying to work him out. Brett Martin, the lefty, got 2 saves this week. They've also mentioned Dennis Santana in the mix there. It sounds like you were on the Brett Martin side. It sounds like you picked him up this week.
Yeah, I mean, he got saves Friday and Saturday. It wasn't a situation where there was like a bunch of lefties coming up either. He was retiring some right-handed hitters against the Twins. So, I mean, he's not. The numbers aren't underlying numbers aren't amazing. There's no career he's always been solid. It's finally time for Brett Martin. No, it's nothing like that.
He was really good last year. He was really good last year in terms of getting guys out. His ERA was 3.2. Like I know the strikeouts weren't huge, and I don't think you're not picking up Josh Hader, and you're not claiming to do that. But I mean, he's someone that has proven he can get guys out at the major league level, at least through the last 3 years here.
Liss always used to say possession's 9/10 of the law when it comes to saves, and as far as I'm concerned, he has that.
You get 2. If you get 2 more, all of a sudden that leash might get a little longer, and they need someone there. I'm at the spot where in the main event, I kind of have, 3 closers or 2.5 closers. So I was not in on him, but that could fall apart at any point. Maybe I regret doing it, but I think it's a solid ad. I mean, he's the guy at the moment, which is kind of all you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I got him. This is main event where we have Barlow and Clay Holmes, and
you have Scott Barlow.
Yeah. Scott Barlow.
So be honest. Every time Aroldis Chapman goes out there on TV and pitches, you're happy, right? Because they're just another week longer of Clay Holmes closing.
Yeah, well, especially when you walk 2 guys in the 6th inning. Now, this is the first time they gave him a leverage situation. It was a tie game, so that's a little different than the other times when he's been out there. It
was still the 6th inning, so that's still pretty.
He gave up the run. It was a fluke on the run itself. Pop up there, dropped it into a fielder's choice. But he's the one that loaded the bases in the first place. So, yeah, I mean, it buys more job security. Clearly, he's not there yet. And Clay Holmes has done nothing to lose it. That's the thing that's really that I keep harping on.
And you and I know doing it not only doing it, but doing it on Sunday Night Baseball against the Red Sox for Chapman. Like that was a big spot they trusted him with, and it did not go well. I know there was a couple of bloop singles in there, but the command is just a big problem right now.
It is. It really is. And yeah. He might be the player I dislike the most in baseball too.
Addison Russell's not in the league anymore, right?
I mean,
and Matt Holliday's not in the league anymore. Then we're good.
Well, yeah. I mean, Chapman is. I mean, he's right there among the reasons to hate him list. I mean, it's pretty high. He is. Yeah. So yeah,
I was joking on Matt Holliday. That's just a personal dislike in my.
I know. Because he tanked it on the A's.
He does not belong anywhere near the world of Addison Russell and Aroldis Chapman. I just want to make that fully clear.
Noted.
Yeah. No. There was a tweet from Steven Nickrand this week, who's very, very good writer at Baseball HQ, talking about Taylor Clark in Kansas City. You've got Scott Barlow there, but in many situations, Taylor Clark has been really good. He's 0% owned. Steven pointed out in all leagues, but ERA's his K to walks really, really good, and he's been someone that's been pitching really well lately. If you're in a deep league or an AL only league, that was a name that I came across that got a little bit interesting as I looked a little deeper at him. He's been very good lately.
Yeah, he's a solid pitcher, and they've put him in more leverage situations. I still feel like I think they go to Barlow first and save chances, but
they could trade Barlow, right?
They could.
You would think. Could. I mean, they're a non-contending team with a reliever that people are going to be.
That's actually a good point. I didn't think about that.
Probably. Yeah. I don't know if coveting's the right word, but Scott Barlow is probably on the top half of the list, at least, of relievers that on bad teams, a team would really reach out to. And he's a lefty, or he's a righty, sorry. But so you could stick him in a setup role automatically. You can get that job done. He's someone that I think is pretty likely to move.
I'd agree with that.
Are you playing the trade speculation game yet on relievers at all as you're picking guys up? I usually don't do it till maybe next week or the week after, maybe get a guy behind someone who might get dealt. It's really hard to predict that. It can be frustrating, but as someone who's had closers traded out of closing situations to set up roles in the past, I know it can happen. Are you playing that game at all yet in any of your deeper leagues?
I haven't been, no. Mostly because I'm just scrambling to get through each week too.
That was my thing this week too. A couple people asked me about like stashes and stuff. I'm just like, I'm trying to field a roster right now. I was mentioning you off air. I had like 9 guys this week who were day to day on my main event team. It's just I just literally just trying to get at bats, and I have Rafael Devers, and I don't know. I don't think he's going to play the first half of this week either. They're at I think they're at Tampa Bay, and they're not going to want him on that turf, right? Like unless he DHs, but he's like with the All-Star break upcoming. It's got to be tempting to sit guys out this week because the All-Star break's coming and get those extra 4 days. But yeah, I just got a bunch of guys. So I was literally just trying to get live bodies. Like I was looking at outfielders this week, and I was just going by at bats in the last 2 weeks because I just need guys that are going out there and playing. Yeah,
I hear you. It's eminently frustrating. And I mean, though, 2 games, say he comes back on Wednesday, 2 games of Devers versus what your replacement is going to be. It's tough. I mean,
the answer is Devers, but the problem is I don't know. I won't know he's going to be playing on Thursday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like if he sits Monday, which he's going to, I can guess twice, but it's hard to know. It's just hard to know. If I knew he was playing Wednesday, I would just play him because 2 games would work, but I just don't know that.
Yeah. So Ryan O'Donnell says, going back to your stash question, doing that with Felix Bautista. Yeah, Jorge Lopez is an interesting guy. Except the Orioles have won 8 in a row.
Except Baltimore's contending for a wild card spot right now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would think, that's a good one by P. Raw 322. Yeri De Los Santos has been really good. If they do trade Bednar, that's a guy that would. And it's when Bednar had that little tweak where he got lit and he was kind of hurt, and they didn't know it was going to go on. Maybe going to be on the IL. De Los Santos got 2 saves in that little stretch, so he's clearly kind of the next guy up there.
Have you given any thought to going forth and Mantiply with Joe Mantiply?
He made the All-Star team, didn't he?
Yeah, he's allowed 1 walk all year. 1.
Like Dennis Eckersley type stuff right there.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really, really good. And the thing is, like, I saw someone bidding on him like in an auto league like a week or two ago. I was like, oh, Joe Mantiply. He's just like your garden variety reliever. Then I looked at the numbers like, oh, snap. He's actually good this year.
Could they they have Melancon for next year, so they probably just won't flat cut him, huh?
I mean, Melancon, do you know when Melancon's last save was?
I don't, because I made a point of not drafting him at any point at any team in any day.
I'm just double checking to make sure he didn't get one over the weekend. But
he did not get one today. I can tell you that.
No, and they not yet. Yeah, they lost today.
No, he got the loss. He got the loss on the last game pitch on the 7th.
Okay.
Jesus, June 3rd.
June 3rd. You know when the last Diamondbacks save was? This will blow your mind.
June 3rd?
June 9th.
Wow.
That was Ian Kennedy.
Okay, so all right, yeah. Wow. Yeah, Mantiply's interesting because he probably may not need Melancon to get dealt to get the job too. Like they could just decide to go forth with him, or they could. I don't think they'll cut Melancon because he signed for next year. It's weird because he was one of those deals where he signed it and like everybody's like, boy, that deal sucks. Like it's weird when everybody thinks a deal sucks. Usually it does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's everyone. It happens like 2 or 3 times, and you're like, and you're like, oh, that's not going to work. And everybody first guesses it. And there's another one that was like so transparently like awful that it was just a bad decision. I don't even remember the sport. Might have been football for all I know.
Darren Dreifert.
No, but that's a good one.
I was going way back. I know what you're thinking of too. There's every once in a while.
Just recently, there was just like another one. It's just like, oh, this is such a bad signing, such a bad decision. When
everyone first guesses it, it's usually. I mean, Melancon's 5.22-1.50 this year. Like and for a team that wasn't going to win anyway, like it was a weird. To sign a 37-year closer to $14 million, it was so strange for a team like that. It made no sense at the time, and maybe they thought he'd be good and then deal him for something. But boy, has that not worked out.
No, it has not at all.
Let's talk about hitters fab. Nolan Jones, you mentioned a little bit earlier, was probably the biggest name called up by the Guardians. I actually got it right this time. The Guardians earlier this week. Someone who's been interesting in the minors. He was 13 home runs, 10 stolen bases, only 99 games last year in AAA. Only hit 238. This year's been better. He hit 311. I looked at him. I was mildly interested. The strikeouts across the minors, like historically, scared me a lot with him. I think he's going to strike out a lot at the major league level to start out with. Yeah, I think so too.
I had him and traded him away, like in that XFL, the Dynasty keeper league, that hybrid. And then I think I traded him like a year and a half ago, and I think I might have chosen not to keep him in a score sheet league because he was just awful last year. And then he ended the year with that horrible ankle injury. Started this year late, but was killing it at AAA, really killing it. And, Oscar Gonzalez is a nice little story when he got the call, but who is Oscar Gonzalez to displace Jones if Jones is hitting in his first trial? I mean, Jones could keep the job. It's possible. Guardians have 8 games this week. Another good reason to go after him.
Yep.
Why not? Why not? It is, and 4 of those games are against Detroit, and we love Detroit. Except for Cleveland does not love Detroit right now. Cleveland got swept by the Tigers earlier this week.
Yeah, that's right.
That bad timing for that.
How active was the bidding for Jones your leagues? Because it was pretty minor mileage. I think he was like in the 20s and 30s that he went for my 2 main event leagues.
A little bit more aggressive, if I'm not mistaken. 37 and 52.
Okay,
so
a little bit more. Yeah, he was 37 and like 23 or something in mine.
Yeah. By the way, just quick, just to reward the chat. Luke Weaver, Rob DiPietro says for Arizona to get their 6 saves for the rest of the year. So yeah, maybe it's possible.
They want him to be a reliever. Does he want to be a reliever? I admit I haven't looked. He's only started 1 game this year, so I suppose so.
Yeah, I mean, he's a failed starter. Right. That happens all the time. It could happen. again, and the thing is, bad teams occasionally get saves. This is a really extreme example. Not as bad as Orioles losing 20 in a row last year, extreme, but still, it's an extreme drought. Usually, you don't see this.
Could be the next coming of Wade Davis. This kind of fits the profile, right?
Yeah, could be.
Failed starter to boom velocity. That's an interesting one. That's a good deep league sneaky one from our friend Rob there.
Yeah.
Some other names in Fab. Matt Carpenter, who homers seemingly every night. Jeff, it seems like there was a stat today that listing all the guys that Carpenter has more homers than. It was like a bunch of really big names. JD Martinez, a couple other guys. Carpenter has hit for power. He's not hit for much non-power. Doesn't have a lot of singles or anything like that. But were you in on Carpenter as a second base eligible player?
Nah, not really. He was either rostered in the league where I might have needed a middle infielder, or I could be wrong about this. Good team, obviously. You want him in that lineup. He is on fire right now. I just think he's just got a little bit of a heater. I guess if you needed a guy for this week, not a bad idea.
Is Rizzo back or going to be back?
I am not knowing.
He played tonight, so yeah, he's fine. So yeah, I think that
I don't have Rizzo in a single league this year, by the way. Sorry.
I don't either, actually. I think it's a playing time issue, though, too. I mean, he's going to play against some righties for a while as he's hot, but I think that, a couple 0 for 4s in a row, he probably ends up, sitting a bunch. So I was not really in on him either. What about Jose Miranda in Minnesota? Has got a little bit of a heater here recently. He was only 55% rostered in the NFBC 12-team leagues. Obviously, he's a big prospect that came up, struggled, went back down, came back up, and seems like maybe he's finding his footing here.
Yeah, by all rights, I'd be interested in him if he were available in leagues where, I think he got snapped in a few leagues last week. The one thing to keep an eye out for, though, is Miguel Sano is going to come back soon. And I'm wondering how the playing time is going to filter out.
Do we have to?
I think he's a sneaky possible power add.
If you need pop, I mean, he can certainly do that as long as your batting average is a little bit isolated.
Miranda batted 8th today. That is a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's a highly touted prospect. We've been patient with other guys, and we've seen them. We've seen that like he's gotten his feet wet. He's finally, he's gotten through that initial struggle. 8 walks, 34 Ks. Yeah, he's gotten more playing time than I realized. I'm interested in Miranda.
And since June 1st, he's hitting about 290. He's got 5 home runs, 20 RBI in 30 games. Like, it's just been May. He hit 176 with a couple home runs. He was really rough in May, and they kind of sent him back down. But since June started, he's been very, very solid for them. And someone that was a pretty big prospect. He was he was a 3rd round pick, but he was pretty highly thought of coming into this year.
Yeah. So yeah, the key here is playing time.
Yeah.
When Sano comes back, what happens? Because Buxton was the DH today, so Buxton will get some time in the outfield, obviously. Nick Gordon doesn't have to play every day. He's not, demanding that spot.
I think Alex Kirilloff needs to play every day, by the way.
I do. I 100% agree with that.
I love Kirilloff's swing.
Yeah. He's another guy that just needs time.
Yeah, I agree. I think he just while that wrist is healthy, I think with the long-term impact of that wrist, we don't know, but while he's healthy, man, he's just got to be out there. Do you obviously know, because you do this all the time, Byron Buxton's hitting 215?
He did get a second stolen base, though, so kudos to that.
He's got 22 home runs, so he's 23 today, sorry. So he's obviously helped you out a lot there. He's got 48 runs, 42 RBIs. I was shocked to see that he's hitting 215. His BABIP is 209. That's going to change, clearly. Hard hit rate's really good. I was surprised that he went through a half season hitting 215.
Yeah, I was aware of it, actually, but because I think it was with maybe with Fred, we were talking about this, and no, I would not be taking him in the 3rd or 4th round, wherever he was going to go. It was with Clay, actually, on Sirius XM. That's when we were talking about it. Just what is he? I mean, he doesn't run. He just, he's ever since he got hurt on that stolen base in Boston, he shut down running until last week.
With the ability to have hindsight, would you take him or Will Smith in the pick you had to take him earlier?
Can I find a?
You want option C?
I want to find door number 3, but and I'm sure they're Toby is crushing me in that league, so maybe I should have. It's not because of Buxton, obviously, but
right. Although he does have 23 home runs, I mean that's a big number there. But Will Smith's hitting 260 with 13 home runs, 42 RBIs, 33 runs. That's a help at catcher for sure.
For sure.
He's not maybe who you want in the end of the 4th round, but still, in terms of catchers, he's a good step ahead of most of them.
So, like the picks immediately following those 2 picks, Aroldis Chapman. Okay, I could have. That's a bullet dodge.
That'd be a lot worse.
Kenley Jansen. Okay,
yeah,
that's fine. He's
pretty good.
He'll be back on Tuesday, so it should be all right. Dylan Cease. Toby got him at 5-2. So,
Toby is much more winning the league because of Dylan Cease than Byron Buxton.
Yes,
I'm going to go.
I got Musgrove the next pick, so
that's been great. Also,
Lindor at 5-5 was a good pick. Guy named Posma, we might have heard of him. He's good at fantasy baseball.
Freaking good everywhere. Lindor for either of those guys probably works right now.
Yes. And I had the opening. I didn't have a shortstop by any stretch, and I'm light on speed in that league.
Yeah. Let's see other hitters. We talked about Eddie Rosario playing whether he's going to play every day. He was 19% rostered in 12 teamers. Were you in on Eddie coming back in the lineup? I actually dropped him in one league either last week or before, just because I was picking up someone else. I think Rosario's fine, but I think he's a little overhyped just how good he was in the playoffs last year in the NLCS. But he's just kind of last year he hit 14 home runs with 11 steals. The 11 steals were really nice, but hit 260. I think he's just kind of a guy.
Agreed. He's not everyday Eddie. He's probably 5 days a week Eddie.
And that 32-109 season was in 2019, which we know a lot of those numbers look pretty freaky now.
He remains at 1 RBI, by the way, unless he had one today.
He did. He doubled his RBI total today.
Oh wow!
He was over 5, but he did drive in a run.
Yeah. But no, I wouldn't give it some time. I think we failed to give him that time last year in many cases, and then missed out on some of his hotter things. I mean, freaking Cleveland straight up dropped him last year, or basically they got him Pablo Sandoval trade.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So I mean. Yeah, it was a straight salary dump is what that was, though. They were like, Atlanta, you take a salary, we'll take whatever you want to throw us back. So that was it.
Someone was asking in that chat about Jameson Taillon. I agree. I would not drop Jameson Taillon either. I think Yankees, you're going to get wins there. He's not walking anybody. I like Taillon as someone who's not going to win your league, but will be very, very solid and help for that. So I would definitely not drop him. A couple other hitters that I kind of like right now, Jeff. 33% rostered to 12 and 20% rostered to 12. Jake Myers and Harold Ramirez. Kind of nothings out there. Jake Myers we talked about a couple weeks ago. He's been very solid for the Astros. Hitting 7th or 8th is a problem, but good average. Harold Ramirez hitting 4th and 2nd this weekend for the Rays. And playing a bunch. I know they have a lot of injuries. They've got a lot of stuff going on there. But Harold Ramirez, I think, is someone that if you're in a kind of deeper league, even a 12-team, I think it works. He's kind of one of those guys I'd ride right now. You're going to get good batting average out of him. He usually does that. You're not going to get a lot of power, but I think it's just kind of a solid – maybe he keeps hitting the middle of the order. I think you get some solid counting cats out of him too.
Yeah. It's weird, Harold, but he is getting some counting stats. He's hitting – 321.
Yeah.
Did not see it. But that's like – that's Ray's devil magic there. Now
it is always
they just lost Kiermaier and Wander Franco.
Yep.
So
not only are there spots open, but there's middle of the order spots open with Franco. And Franco, we'll talk about. I guess we can talk about now. He has a hamate injury in his right wrist. Might have surgery. If he does, that'd be 8 weeks. That'd be like a droppable almost season ender for him. At least maybe they try and get back to the playoffs. But in terms of fantasy wise, probably a drop. We don't know that for sure yet, but it's kind of leaning that direction.
Yeah, especially because he hasn't been doing much. I mean, that's the other thing. And who knows? Maybe he's been playing, compromised prior to that too, a little bit. You never know. I think this is different than Harper. I'm holding Harper. But Franco, I want confirmation on this. I wait 1 week and then he's probably dropped City.
Yeah, because if they say 6 to 8 weeks, you're looking at the start of September, and they're not going to push him, and it's not going to work. You're not going to hold him for 3 weeks when he, like you said, he wasn't really going crazy. I mean, Bryce Harper was like MVP level, kind of going crazy, so that's a different level of hold than what Franco was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Rays are in big trouble. I always think that, but I mean, they've been really tested on their depth. I mean, on the pitching side of things, bullpen. I mean, Jeffrey Springs just got hurt. He was one of their good stories. Losing Kittredge was a big blow, I think. Not just saves, but just key innings and all that. I think, I don't think they're going to be buying at the deadline either, because that's just not what they do.
They are the kings of working stuff out, but that division's really tough right now. And at some point, tested depth becomes a problem. And, they want Josh Lowe to be the guy just to slide in and be good. And Josh Lowe's been terrible. And they're going to need him
today, though.
Yeah, he did, but he's still striking out a ton, not doing much. He did the home run today. Actually, the Kiermaier injury might have saved him going back down to the minors, too. I think that might have been he might have been going back down pretty quick, but now they need him. They just don't. You look at their lineup, and I know they do things and they figure it out, but the lineup is, like you said, the depth getting tight. They traded for Christian Bethancourt this week, so maybe that'll help out a little bit. But I don't think that's the move that's saving you. Any of the guys they called up you like at all? Like is Jonathan?
I was going to say Yu Chang is the guy.
I was going to ask you about Aranda or Yu Chang.
I like them both a little bit. Aranda is the prospect. Yu Chang is the guy with the good StatCast metrics who's just never really put it together. It just seems like right up the Rays' alley. You realize Taylor Walls batted third today for the Rays?
And there's
Taylor a quote, Walls is terrible.
He's been awful. There's a quote something like he's going to be the guy playing every day, and I kind of liked him last year. I remember he got called up. I looked at him. I kind of liked him. I mean, he's hitting 163. Like you say, terrible. Like it's like legit been awful. He struck out 4 times today. Yeah,
and there were some key spots there too. He got called looking in that the 4th inning when they had loaded the bases against Lodolo. Had cut the lead from 7-0 to 7-3. Reds added 3 more after that. It was game over after that. But they had Lodolo on the ropes.
I'm very glad I was at a 3-year-old birthday party at that point, and I did not get to see that because I would have been freaking out as a Lodolo manager.
Yeah, I understood completely. But it's just, he's overmatched as a hitter. He's a great defender, but you don't bat him third. Why are you batting him third? I guess it's a bad lineup right now. Rough series for them. They lost in a walk-off balk against the Reds. I mean, you got to do well against the Reds.
It was funny seeing the crowd at that because like nobody knew what was going on for like a third of a second. Everybody's like looking around, and then all of a sudden everybody stand up and started cheering. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, and it illustrated what the Reds won like 4 games in their last at bat this week, which is really
that's
weird.
A good teams too, Jeff.
Yes, they do. Now they're dizzying heights. They're up to 33 wins now. So. Which
the A's may not get to 33.
Hell, they'll probably get there by August. They're at 29.
29. So yeah, August about right. That's a pretty good projection right there. I like it.
Yeah.
I was on the Beat the Shift podcast this week with Ariel Cohen, and we talked about Eric Haas. That's someone that if you have a catcher,
if you've been paying attention, yeah.
I really like Eric Haas. I think that he is he's really solid. He's a really good hard hit last year. Hit the ball well. I liked him coming in this year. Didn't get a lot of playing time early. The playing time seemed to bump up, but he has 4 home runs the last like 10 or 12 games. He's someone that if you need a second catcher, he's someone that I would definitely grab. I think he should be rostered and definitely all 15 teamers.
Well, the thing is, they traded for Tucker Barnhart. There's just all this talk about how he's going to help their young pitchers, and that has not happened. Nope. The young pitchers have not developed, and Barnhart's got a 535 OPS. So at some point, like, okay, let Haas play.
Yeah, at some point, if we're still going to give up runs, give me the guy who can hit a little bit. I mean, Haas has a 731 OPS. I mean, not making the Hall of Fame, but I mean, that's way better than Barnhart.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the news and notes. There was a lot of it this weekend. I'll get through this real quick. But Yordan Alvarez, you and I talked about earlier, right hand inflammation. It seems like this has just not gone away. Obviously, it hasn't hampered him much. The guy still is hitting bombs all the time. I kind of feel like this is we're going to the All-Star break. Let's go ahead and do it now rather than making this an issue the second half. At least I hope that's what it is.
I think so too.
But obviously, you can't use him this week, and make sure you have a replacement for him. Then.
Yeah, I mean it's 1 game against the A's and 3 games after an off day. 3 games in Anaheim. Let's get home, and then they've got another series against the A's, and they've got a prohibitive lead in the division. No one's going to make a run in that division. Well, that's not true. The Mariners might now that the Mariners are showing some life, but it's a long run to make.
They're not making a run at the Astros though. They're making a run to the wild card. They're still 12 back. The Astros are just awesome. And you throw those pitchers out there and it's just they're so good. Yeah. Alvarez's OPS is 1058. That's not bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss him this week. That sucks.
Yeah, you and me both. We talked about Wander Franco. Mitch Garver's in situation. He's having that forearm surgery. He wants to be able to throw. He can't throw right now. He can only hit in DH. So he played this weekend against the Twins. So a lot of people were confused, but he's actually having surgery tomorrow. So he is a immediate drop out for the season.
Yep. And they've gotten great run out of Jonah Heim anyhow, behind the plate. Yeah. Heim's and at the plate.
He's been good.
Yeah. So there's no real action there. It's just drop Garver and scramble.
Pick up Eric Haas, hopefully.
Yeah, we had to pick up a catcher. We lost James McCann. He's now McCant again. And so
Who'd you grab?
I think did we grab? No, I think we got outbid on Ryan Jeffers, which is just
That's a sad state of affairs.
That's a statement that should never be said. But although we originally had Jeffers and cut Jeffers for McCann.
I think I've cut Jeffers 3 times this year. So I feel your pain.
Yeah, we got Jan Gomes. So fear us.
Every time I look, he has like 18 to 20 at bats in a week. I don't know where they all come from. I guess he just DHs or Contreras DHs, but he does play a lot. Yeah. I assume Danny Jansen was taken there because I think he's going to get called up this week. He's had a whole week of rehab, and I think there's a lot of talk that they need him catching their pitchers, how much better they are. And Gabriel Moreno's kind of gone a slump, so it's not like they need his offense. And Kirk's obviously there. I just think Jansen's going to get the call here on Monday or Tuesday. So I kind of I added him ahead of that in a couple leagues also. Yeah,
and the Jays are in a bad way right now.
They quietly are in a very bad way, on both sides of the ball too. They're not really scoring a lot of runs that we expect, and their pitching's been a little rough right now with Gossman hurt, with Ryu hurt. They've been throwing some names we don't know out there, and it has not gone well.
Yeah, Kikuchi got blown up again against our A's.
Went on the IL because I think it was a fake IL for sure, but he needed. I mean, they're 1-9 in the last 10 games. It's suddenly way back at the Yankees, 2 ahead of the Orioles, and they're now behind Tampa and Boston.
Yeah. And it just opens up that last wild card spot to a lot of different teams. And, keeps Guardians' hopes alive, and the Mariners too. Mariners, I think, are like a game out of the wild card now.
Yeah, it's you go 8 games and suddenly with that extra wild card spot. Do you think that the extra wild card spot's going to affect trading and stuff? Do you think?
Yeah, we had a question in the chat about that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Do you think? I mean, because you look right now, you just look at the American League. There are. I'm looking at 7. There's 7 teams that essentially have 8, maybe 8 if you want to include Texas. Texas 4 out of the last spot. It seems like that last spot, more than half the league is in the mix at the moment. Obviously, that'll open up a little bit by the deadline in 3 weeks, but you think at least like 5 or 6 of those teams be in the mix.
You think so? And you think that like in some cases it might encourage some teams to try to make that push if making the playoffs is a big thing. I don't see the Red Sox looking at it that way, for instance, though. I mean, I think they're going to manage their team the way they want to manage their team,
right?
Because
they're probably. If you're 2 out of the third wild card spot, do you really want to give up a good prospect to get somebody? It's a tough little in between game there.
And San Diego's traded away a good chunk of their farm system.
If anything else, I wonder if it makes teams it makes them less sellers because like maybe Texas and the White Sox and Miami aren't sellers where they would have been with 2 spots. I think maybe that's the fact that maybe it helps the bottom teams. There's less teams selling, but maybe that big Lou Trevino haul is eventually to come in.
Maybe so. It could happen there.
We need Frankie Montas to have a couple of good starts so they can trade him. That's the big.
Brandon Drury is hot commodity. Let's do this.
You say that Brandon Drury is awesome.
I know he's having his absolute career year.
Like legit. The Reds should trade him. Like, he's going to cool off. Dude has 18 home runs. He's hitting 280. He's been awesome. Hard hit rates,
it's supported by all the hard hit rates, all that. I get it. Yeah, they should trade him.
Good. Yeah, they should definitely trade him. And
the Reds should actually. I mean, Reds should totally aggressively go out and get the best offers they can for Luis Castillo. If they don't get him what they want, fine. But he is the name right now among starting pitchers. That's both available and healthy.
You're right. Because it was him and Montas right now it's an arm issue too.
And Mahle too. And Mahle's out too.
Not like Montas tweaked his hamstring. Like it's a shoulder thing, and they're downplaying it. But who knows why they're downplaying? It might be to try and get him out there and trade him.
I think we know why they're downplaying.
They do, but they got to pitch him at some point. Nobody's trading him until he pitches. But oof.
Yeah.
Rafael Devers. We talked about him a little bit earlier, but he left early on Friday, missed Saturday and Sunday. The Red Sox is not expected to hit the IL. I'm not sure if I fully buy that. I'd like to see him in the lineup, but there was talk today. Alex Cora was getting interviewed on the Sunday baseball game and talking about the Tampa turf and playing on that.
I heard that too.
I mean, I think maybe if anything, he DHs a couple times the first half of the week, but that's even kind of a hope right now. And he's too bad because he smoked Garrett Cole. Was that on Friday night? Thursday. 2 home runs, 6 or 5 RBIs, and Cole after the game was like asking the reporters, like, do you have any ideas on how to get this guy out? Because I certainly can't do it. Devers has 6 home runs off of his career, but losing Devers would hurt because he's just a freaking stud.
Yeah, he is. He really is. By the way, that Sunday night broadcast. A quick word. I'm a complainer about broadcast teams all the time. I like this team. I like Kyle Ravitch, David Cohn, and Eduardo Perez Jr. I think they're excellent together. It's refreshing compared to last year's team, and broadcast team. They like baseball. You can tell they love baseball.
Do you ever find yourself going to ESPN2?
Why would I do that when I know A-Rod is there? And
the funny thing is, on Monday Night Football, I ended up watching ESPN2 like a lot of the time because I like the Manning cast. It just has not worked the other direction at all.
I haven't bothered to try because I hated A-Rod on the broadcast team as it was. So why would I go follow him?
Yeah, and Michael K, like I can go listen to Yankee games I want to hear. I don't know how that works.
Yeah. The other, and even the Manning cast itself, it was hit or miss for me. I think they got way too caught up in interviewing other people all the time and like showing that they're friends with famous people. But anyhow.
I didn't like the interviews much, but when there was just the two of them and they were like breaking down
when they paid attention to the game, it was good. Yeah.
And if the Niners are playing, I can't watch that because you can't watch the game like that well if you do that. That was as background noise, which half of my football games probably are for me if I'm working or doing something. I really enjoyed. I like both of them a lot, but I agree with you on the interview part of it. I think the interviews, unless it was someone great, and they had a couple of those. Unless it was someone great, they had a lot of people that are just kind of I don't need to listen to this most of the time. Yeah,
I just think they got too caught up in that. But anyhow, that sidebar aside, going back, so Devers, if you're in an FBC style league, of course, you're going to have to play it very cautiously for the first half of the week because of the turf. If you're in my boat in AL Tout Wars where you have to make the move at the start of the week, you leave them active.
I think so too. A note on that: there is one day game tomorrow because there's a doubleheader. The Tigers and Royals kick off at yes. Oh wow, look at you at the Eastern time. I was going to go 11:10 Pacific because that's the only time zone that really matters. But yes,
good point.
2:10 Eastern, 1:10 Central for the Northwestern fans listening to us on the broadcast.
Both of us.
Ryan Reynolds left early Sunday with right side discomfort. That's one to definitely check out because obviously Reynolds is very good and the best hitter on the team. They're at Miami tomorrow. You mentioned Starling Marte. CJ Cron missed the weekend after a hit by pitch. X-rays were negative. He's a day-to-day guy. That's a big one, though, because they're home for 7 games this week. So I think if you're in a weekly league, you just have to play him and you hope, if he gets 4 or 5, you still want him in there. If you're in a half week, though, they have 4 games this week, the first half of the week. I think that's the one to really think about and check and kind of read into those quotes. If someone says, he was almost there, but we're going to leave him for Tuesday, I think that's the one you really got to pay attention to because you do not want to miss Cron home games.
Yeah, Cron loves himself some Coors Field.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. So, again, that's one of – unless, barring, like, negative news coming out, I'm going to – probably roll the bones with that one there and just hope I get 2 of those 4 games.
Rolling the bones. You're headed to Vegas. It sounds like you're ready to go.
Come on, not 7. All right, let's go.
Are you a don't pass guy?
No, I mean, when you already have a number of 7's bad for you.
I guess that's true. That is true. You want the first 7, right?
Yeah. I'm counting after it's been set, but actually I'm a don't play craps guy more often than not.
Really?
I like it, but it's an expensive damn game.
It is. I like it if I have a bunch of friends at the table and we're just playing. Like exactly. I would never roll it by myself and try and make money doing that. It's just too strong.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are no professional craps players. None.
It's a fun but tough game. But
you have to win money. You have to have so much money out there, and it's inherently stacked against you. So but fun.
Yes. Whit Merrifield left early Sunday, some right toe discomfort. Hopefully he's okay. He's been finally starting to come around the last 10 days or so, both hitting some home runs and stealing bases. Ha-Sung Kim in San Diego, day-to-day with a thumb injury. This is a tough one for me, Jeff. I dropped him going into Coors just because I think this is the second time he's had this. He missed 2 games earlier in the week, and then he tweaked it yesterday. I think there's a chance he goes on the IL tomorrow, and I just couldn't risk it. With the amount of injuries I had, I just had to have someone that I thought was more likely to play.
I 100% agree.
Sucks going to the Coors, though.
It does. And the thing is, I mean,
but he's got 4 home runs and 5 steals or something.
I was just going to say, where's the upside anyhow?
He's hitting 240. He's just not. He's 3rd, 2nd, and short eligible, which is really nice, but that's kind of the extent of it.
Yeah. Bottom 4 of the Padres order today: Jose Azocar, Brent Rooker, CJ Abrams, Matt Batten.
I genuinely don't like to admit this, but I don't know who Matt Batten is.
He pitched today too.
He's the guy. I did see a position better pitching. I didn't know who it was.
Yeah. Yay, fun.
The freaking worst, by the way. Don't get me started on that. I hate it. It sucks.
Yeah. We're all on the same note here. 27-year-old who made his debut this year. So yeah.
Also
nothing against the Batten family.
Also for him, but yeah, not probably someone we're picking up in leagues. To answer someone in the chat was talking about Whit Merrifield, his consecutive game streak being in jeopardy. The X-rays were negative. He's waiting results on MRI, so we just don't know the full results there. But obviously, the MRI is the one that usually tells us the bad stuff anyway.
Right.
Usually
the fact that they needed both is the bad sign. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's one of those that we'll have to just figure out when we get the news there. Jeff,
one more thing about that. They play the early game. So at least with Merrifield, we'll know right away.
Yeah,
if he's not starting, and it's a doubleheader, so maybe he only plays one game anyhow. But
now at least we'll probably get a quote from the manager or the results of something. They'll say Witt's not playing, but he's gonna play this afternoon, or Witt's not playing, we didn't need a couple days. Like that, we'll get something probably from.
Sometimes you don't get the quote until in game. I remember remember what was it? It was Max Kepler and the Twins. They had some stuff going on in doubleheader, and because like the beat writers were all traveling and it was a day game against that, we didn't find out until afterward. Like, it wasn't Kepler, it was Correa. Correa was on. He tested positive for COVID.
That's right.
And so you're screwed with a dead spot all week. Sorry, tough break.
Jeff, last guy I want to ask you about, what does one do? Let's say 15 teamers. I think the answer is pretty easy in a 12 teamer. What does one do in a 15 teamer with New York Yankees 9-hitter Joey Gallo?
Bunt hitter Joey Gallo. Did you see that this week?
Yeah, they had a little bunt. I like that. 166, 10 home runs. It's only gotten worse. So the thought that he's going to figure out and break out. He hit 138 in June. He had an 0 for 23. I think he had a 1 for 30 something. You could tell it's getting to him. You can tell he's pressing. But this is a guy that hit 38 home runs last year. You didn't draft him because you wanted batting average, but he's hitting 166, which hurt you more than you thought. What the heck do you do with a guy like this in a 15-teamer?
I think I saw him available, but it might have been in a 12 where I saw someone that dropped him.
I had him available in a 12, and I'm looking at my sheet here. I didn't bid.
Yeah. This is me with posting a eating popcorn GIF and watching somebody else think about that one because – I'm not with Joey Gallo. I was kind of on a never Joey. I wouldn't say never because we know saying never is a good way to guarantee an MVP like second half, but
never in terms of he always got drafted before I was even considering taking him.
Yeah. It's like taking Reds closers. Just don't do that.
Yeah. Anthony Gialdi mentioned chat Merrifield toe injury. Yeah, he had a toe injury. That was what he had the X-ray and MRI on. The X-ray came back negative. Waiting on the results of the MRI on Witt there. I think we hit everybody else I want to talk about. We talked about Michael Harris. We talked about Taylor Rogers. Anybody else on your mind you want to discuss?
Are you worried about Shane Baz getting crushed today?
Not really.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I really like Shane Baz. I think it just like you said earlier, young pitchers, sometimes that happens and they get smoked. And I know you look up and the ERA is 5, but ERA was 2.9 coming today. Anytime you have 27 innings, you have one blow up, and the thing's going to pop up pretty good. If I was in a trade league, I'd certainly make an offer today if you can get him. I mean, he hadn't given up more than one run in 4 straight starts before this.
Yeah.
One. So I feel pretty good that I think he'll be fine, and I like him. I'd like to say someone drop him. I think that'd be nice.
Yeah.
But are we are off next week? Is that correct?
Yep. You're going to Vegas. Are you going to Vegas?
I'm not going to Vegas.
Boo.
I know, just scheduling wise, you guys in the middle of the week makes it tough for me, but I will send my love.
You have a real job. It
is a fun trip that I have made multiple times. It is a very fun trip. If anybody, I'm very jealous of all you guys. Where are you guys staying this year?
Circa.
Oh, nice. So you get the big sports book, right?
Yeah, big sports book, big.
Does that have the big pool and screens outside? That'll be fun.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun. We might do a couple of segments on VSiN live from the Circa Sportsbook because that's where they film. So nice. I've been doing those after the show on Mondays on 11:30 Best Coast time if you happen to have VSiN. So check that out. Awesome. Usually it's been fun with Mike Palm. Really good, really fun segment. But
home run derby from the pool with the big screen, huh? That'd be nice.
Yeah, it sounds like something that might happen there. Tuesday, Fred is out this week, so I'm going to have Eric Halterman, who does the RotoWire Barometer. He's going to be joining me, and we're going to, he's also a Phillies fan, so we'll do all things Philly.
Is that live from Vegas, or you're back by then?
No, that's this Tuesday. We're doing
Tuesday. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
that's right. Okay,
and then I'm off Thursday because golf, and I'm doing golf trip right into Vegas this year.
Are you really? Wow.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's a lot of that's a good little adventure right there.
Yeah, but it'll be fun.
Well, good luck there. Hit them straight in your golf trip, and then always bet on black and roulette, and you'll be good to go. So I covered you for your golf trip and Vegas. But we'll be off next week for the All-Star break. We'll be back at you. I guess if I'm doing my math right, that'll be July 24th. So I hope everybody enjoys the All-Star break. Hope he has a really good fantasy week. It's been a fun first half. Hope everybody has enjoyed the show. We've certainly enjoyed doing it. We've certainly enjoyed the season so far, Jeff. I'm hoping that our September is fun with a little bit of sweating some good finishes here.
I want a striker in the old guy September. Let's do it.
It'd be a lot of fun. It's a long way to go till we get to that, but if we can hold where we are right now, I would be happy with that heading into September, and we'll see where the cards fall at that point.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, thanks for Jeff. I'm Scott Jenstad. If you want to follow Jeff on Twitter, he's at Jeff_Erickson. I am at Scott Jenstad. Jenstad is JENSTAD. Other than that, we're back at you in 2 weeks after the All-Star break. Hope everybody has a good break, good next week here, and take care. Talk to you soon.